recordings is set.
Yeah. Hello. Hello. Welcome to my new show. I'm super excited about this. I think it's going to be so much fun and informative and helpful and all the things. And so, very excited to have you that are joining. I'm honored that you have chosen to spend an hour or so with me tonight, and hopefully you'll get something out of it, and it'll be beneficial all the way around. And so that's fantastic. When I pitched this idea to Dr. Gray, who we're going to talk to in a few minutes, um, then he was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And so I was like, cool, this is awesome. So I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be a part of medical school headquarters, of course, and just be a part of you and your life and your journey into medical school. So that's exciting. Now, I want to introduce my boss and my friend and my colleague and all the things that he is in my world. And so most of you know him as Dr. Ryan Gray. I know him. No, I won't say what I know him as, but I know him.
LFA.
And so welcome, Dr. Ryan Gray.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be on a show for once that I'm not the boss. And here's the applause.
Yay, there you go. Yay, woohoo.
The audience.
That's awesome. So what I would say, Ryan, is number one is thank you for joining us tonight, and thank you for being on the inaugural show of Getting It Right Premed Happy Hour. Yay, that's all cool. One of the things I will do each week is, since this is happy hour, we will feature an adult beverage. I will be drinking an adult beverage as we do the show. I hope that's not shocking to anyone out there. If it is, then probably shouldn't watch the show. But I will be featuring each week a different adult beverage, and I'll tell you about it. And that's just kind of something that I enjoy. I not that I'm a heavy drinker, but I do like to imbibe a little bit occasionally, as in every night. And so I'm glad that you're all here. And so what I will also do is ask my guest, on nights that we have a guest, I will ask my guest what their favorite adult beverage is. So tonight, Ryan, I will ask you about your favorite adult beverage. What is it?
Oh, I will tell you. I put please drink responsibly at the bottom there. Little disclaimer: we do not condone alcoholic beverages. My favorite. So it's interesting. A little bit, just TMI, or just a little bit about my journey, is I don't actually drink a lot these days. Almost exclusively because one of the reasons that I left practicing medicine was I have some lesions in my spinal cord, some demyelinating lesions. They thought I had MS for a little while. Probably not MS at this point because they've been stable now for 11 years. But one thing that happens to me, what happens to everyone when you drink alcohol, you don't sleep that well. And so if I don't sleep well, my lesions act up. If I get stressed, my lesions act up is what I call it. Wow. And then different parts of my body hurt. It's all sensory stuff, thankfully. No strength issues. But like today, I've been stressed lately. My pinky is just completely raw and burning, and so it's just like. So I don't drink a lot anymore because I don't enjoy the burning of my skin that it feels. But I went out for a date night with my wife on Valentine's Day, and my go-to cocktail, and I had one the other night, is a Negroni. I love gin. Gin is my kind of go-to spirit, and I just love the flavor of the Negroni, whatever it is. I don't even know what's in it. I just like it.
I know it's that it's gin and then Campari, which is kind of a bitter liqueur.
Okay.
And
sweet
I think
vermouth,
also
apparently.
sweet vermouth is in it.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
it's a very, very good drink if you like bitter drinks.
Yeah. And my favorite one, which is an interesting twist on the question, my favorite Negroni I've had was in LA several years ago. It was like a smoked Negroni.
Ooh.
And it had some smoky flavor to it. They served it very cool and it was smoking. And I've been trying to find that elsewhere and I just can't. It's just all regular old Negronis. So
wow. That sounds
that's my go-to. Yeah.
That sounds amazing. So to let you know about my drink this evening, before we move on to our topic tonight, I have a cocktail. I was debating between a certain bottle of wine that I was interested in telling you about, and this cocktail. And I chose the cocktail. You can see it's got a green color to it, and it is what I call an apple pie cocktail. What I have in there is Jack Daniel's Tennessee Fire, which is kind of like it's a cinnamon whiskey, and then I add to that some sour apple schnapps. And mix the two together. It's a heavy liquor drink. Obviously, there's nothing in it but liquor, and but it's tastes like an apple pie, and very, very tasty, very tasty. So try it out and see what you think if you're of age.
I love it. If you're of age. Yeah. I think you should call it the Green Goblin. I just watched Spider-Man with my kids, and the Green Goblin was one of the characters in that first Spider-Man movie. So
yeah. Oh, that's true. Yes. It's a very tasty drink. So if you like sort of apple pie type flavors and stuff, then maybe you should try it out. So, Ryan, tonight I wanted to talk. We're talking about in this broadcast, depending on the week, we are going to talk about some difficult topics and how those difficult topics come up in the application process, and some topics that are difficult to talk about, and for the applicant and or for admissions committees or whatever. And so tonight, I wanted to tell a little bit about your story, Ryan, and bring up the topic of reapplication. And there's some questions I want to ask you about your perspective on reapplicants and how that goes for applicants and stuff like that. But I think obviously this is relevant to you and your story. So I'd like for you to, if you would, for just a few minutes, tell us about your story of applying to medical school and just how that process worked for you.
It didn't. It didn't at all. It's one of the reasons why I'm kind of passionate about what I do now and trying to help as many students as possible. I come from a household where I lived with my mom and my stepdad. Neither of them graduated high school. Mm-hmm. Education was not the most important thing in our households. And so I had to kind of figure it out. I went to college knowing that I wanted to go to medical school, not really knowing what that meant or what that entailed. And so when I met with my pre-health advisor for one of the first times and having her tell me, you're a white male, you're never going to get into med school, there's too many of you applying. I was like, okay, thanks for that motivational speech. So I never kind of went back to her, and I had to figure things out on my own. And so I don't know like where I started getting the ideas of what clinical experience is, and of course research and all this stuff. The biggest thing was that I was an exercise physiology major at the University of Florida, and I had a wonderful kind of cohort of students that I was friends with, right? And if anyone listens to the Premed Years podcast, at the beginning of that podcast, it talks about collaboration, not competition, is key to your success. And that's where that comes from. Is I had a group of friends that we collaborated with. I still talk to a few of them still today. And I had to figure out what it meant to be a pre-med and how to apply to medical school. And so clinical experience, right, is you have to go to the hospital. You got to volunteer in the hospital. So I went down the hill to Shands, which is the big hospital there at the University of Florida campus, and said, hey, I'm a pre-med. I need to volunteer. And they put me at the information desk, and I pointed people to the elevators and to the gift shop. Hey, I volunteered in the hospital. Isn't that what you want? And so when I applied the first time, I don't know, something worked because I got 2 interviews. This was also in 2001 when I applied. Scott, when were you at Southwestern?
96 to 2006.
Okay, so you were there during this transition when AMCAS went electronic.
Yes.
Major fiasco. That first year in 2001, I was the benefactor of AMCAS being electronic for the first year.
Wow.
And it was a complete disaster. It was a disaster for students. It was a disaster for schools. The schools couldn't receive the information from the AAMC. The AAMC had to print all of the applications and mail them out to schools. But somehow I got 2 interviews at University of Florida and University of Colorado. I was able to interview at both. Apparently, my interview skills were not on point back then because I didn't get in to either. And so that was really kind of the start of how do I figure out where I went wrong? What do I need to improve? Am I meant to be a physician? Am I smart enough to be? I applied to all these schools and everyone said no. And I guess that's a sign from the universe that I should just go and do something else. But yeah, I persevered. I decided when I was going to and when I was ready to reapplied and eventually got in. And then I deferred a year. I said, thank you for the acceptance. I don't want to come now. So I deferred a year. So,
nice.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I'm really interested in, Ryan, is the emotional state of things in the application process. Yeah. And I think for applicants that aren't successful, it's a real downer for them. And talk about kind of emotionally how that went for you when you were in the midst of that, when you were kind of, just in the throes of recognizing it wasn't going to play out the way that you had hoped. What was that like?
You didn't tell me I needed tissues tonight. Jeez, man. Yeah. I don't think we talk about the emotional aspects of applying enough. And I'll divert for 2 seconds. I was literally talking to a student today who is struggling a little bit academically, is thinking about applying this cycle, but maybe their GPA isn't ready. They're doing some post-bac work. And I said, look, you have 2 options. You can apply knowing that your GPA is weaker and apply and get to the end. You have to know at the end, if you don't have any acceptances, no interviews potentially, how are you going to handle that emotionally? Is that going to break you, or are you going to be devastated? Or will you say, you know what? I went into the application cycle knowing this was a weakness. Good thing I've been working on it through the application cycle. It doesn't mean anything about me. It doesn't mean anything about my future as a physician. And you reapply. And so it's something that I think a lot of students don't really understand, the emotional toll that putting your heart and soul into these essays and spending a lot of money. And obviously it's a year-long process. Unfortunately, a lot of schools don't communicate at all. And so you're kind of left with wondering. But that's the thing. I came through it, and I kind of hinted at it a little bit earlier, is just the questioning of I guess I guess these schools are telling me that I can't be a physician, right? That's the
Mhm.
meaning that I was making
Mhm.
right then and there was, I guess I should go do something else, right? I'm an exercise physiologist. Maybe I should go work on being an exercise physiologist for my career.
Mm.
Um, and trying to pick up the pieces really at the end of the application cycle to go, where do I go from here? And I think that's a big part of the emotional
Yeah,
drain
that's right.
of the process is, especially for students who don't have great access to advisors or a reading student doctor network or Reddit. They
Mm.
they
Right.
leave the application cycle and are just kind of, I don't know, sitting on the side of the road going, okay, now what?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. And so I think that I think you're exactly right in terms of our level of concentration just generally across the pre-med spectrum of concentration on the sort of emotional part of the whole process from
Yeah,
beginning to end. It's arduous,
yeah,
and applicants need to be aware of that in terms of what that's going to mean and how they're going to see themselves through it. I've never heard an admissions officer talk about it in that way, that that part of the sort of entry fee of medical school, the medical school curriculum is sort of the difficult level of going through all you have to go through to make it happen. And but it certainly makes sense to me that that's part of it.
yeah. I don't know. I wrestle with this a lot of, um, right, how much of the process is there just because it's always been there,
Mhm.
versus
Mhm.
how much of the process is there um, as a measure of someone's willingness to kind of go through the process.
Mhm.
How much of the process can be improved for better mental health versus how much of the process needs to stay to really challenge someone's thinking and ability,
Yeah.
um, and their belief in themselves that they can handle these kind of high pressure, high stakes situations. And it's a little hyperbolic, right? When we're like, "Oh, you're gonna be saving people." Like, the majority of physicians aren't in that sort of situation in their day-to-day life, right? The dermatologist sitting there with their dermatoscope going, "Oh, this is high pressure." Um, not to diminish what dermatologists do. Please save me and my pale redhead from, all my skin cancer.
Right.
Um, right, but I think there is some aspect to putting barriers in place, right? If we wanna call it that, like the MCAT, to say, how willing are you to put in the work?
Mhm.
Because medical school is hard, and I don't know how we make it easier.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Uh, and are you willing to put in the work? Because what is worse is as a medical school, right? You fill half your class, and then half of the students drop out because they're like, never mind. I don't want. I didn't sign up for this,
Right.
right? You kind of know what you're signing up for, and
Yeah.
part of it is this game, right? The sunk cost fallacy of like, oh, I've already done so much to be here. I might as well stay in, right? So some of that is playing to the med school's favor.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. So tell me then, in terms of your experience as a reapplicant, and then as you have discovered over the years the sort of perspective of medical schools and sort of how they actually think about reapplicants,
Yeah.
how they view them, how they treat them in the
Mm.
process. What have you discovered are um, sort of myths that are out there in terms of how reapplicants get treated in the process?
I think the biggest myth that continues to perpetuate is that being a reapplicant is bad. Uh, I
Mhm.
haven't seen any recent data to support that answer. Um, uh, I have seen old data that the AAMC put out at some point showing acceptance rates for first-time applicants versus reapplicants, and it was pretty bad, right? And it was like, hey, reapplicant acceptance rate's like 25%, and first-time acceptance rate is 50 or 60%, whatever it was. And I think a lot of people jump to conclusions saying, oh, being a reapplicant
It's bad.
is
Right.
bad.
Mm-hmm.
And my go-to line these days is being a reapplicant with the same bad application is bad.
Right.
And I think that's the thing, right? And you've been in this game a long time. I've now been in this game a long time. We see applications day in and day out
Yeah.
of students who have applied who have no business applying
That's
yet.
right. Yeah. That's
Right. And the key word on yet, I'm not saying you shouldn't apply to medical school and be a doctor. I'm saying you weren't ready to apply when you applied.
Right.
And I'll ask a student, I'm like, why did you do that? They're like, oh, I just wanted to see what it was like. I'm like, I wish I had that sort of just laissez-faire kind of
Right.
attitude
Right.
going through that process. But yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is that being a reapplicant is somehow bad. And I think there are so many different reasons, right? There are lots of variables on a medical school application, whether it's the
Mhm.
timing of the application, your personal statement, your activities, your hours, your consistency, your letters of recommendations, so many different variables. And when we get questions about generically, like, well, what should a student do to improve their application? The first question is, well, where are you starting from, right? Where did we go wrong in the first place?
Mhm. Mhm.
So I think that's the biggest thing is just having students understand that a lot of people need to reapply for one reason or another, and that's okay.
Mhm.
There are some random schools out there. Harvard has a rule where you can't apply to them more than twice. They won't consider you. Harvard's stupid. Like, let Harvard shove their nose in the air and be super prestigious. That's fine. They're allowed to be obnoxious like that. But the majority of schools out there
Right.
um,
Right.
are willing and maybe even like a little bit of that resilience. They're like, all right, you're proving that you're coming back here.
Mhm. Mhm. That's right. That's right. Now, another thing that I've sort of discovered over the years is that reapplicants often um, feel as if potentially that the thing that was the problem was where they applied, not the fact that their application itself was maybe
Mm.
not as good as it could be. That they shot too high, or they didn't apply to the right school somehow,
Yeah.
etc. Do you see this as a factor at all in terms of why somebody doesn't get in because they just didn't apply to the right school?
Yeah. Uh, I- my personal belief is that it's less of a factor than people think it is.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
there are very obvious things when I look at an application, right? And for everyone on YouTube right now, we have the application renovation series. That's probably what I'm known most for. And we have more coming, more application renovation episodes coming.
That's right.
Um, I almost never critique the school list unless it's a student who maybe doesn't really matter where they're a resident of, but they're a resident of Colorado, right? Where I am. And they apply to University of California schools, right? So they apply to the UC schools, which most of them have really, really strong in-state bias.
Mhm.
They apply to the University of Arizona, Phoenix, and Tucson, both of
Right.
which have strong in-state bias, one more than another. They
Right.
apply to like SUNY Downstate because SUNY Downstate fits their metrics, right? Everyone's applying based on MCAT and GPA. But when you actually go and look at SUNY Downstate's numbers, they barely accept anyone from out of state.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think too many students aren't putting in real work when it comes to building a school list.
Mm-hmm.
And they're picking schools not necessarily that are reach or safety, because I personally don't like using those words. I think every medical school is a reach school. I think they don't look at the residency stuff enough. That's to me the biggest factor.
Uh,
And as long as they know, right, if they did look at the residency stuff and they're like, I applied to SUNY Downstate because I have family that lives 2 blocks away from there, and I saw that they accepted 3 people from out of state last year, and I would love to go there. I love the city. Awesome, right? Informed consent. As long as you know that your chances of getting in there are probably pretty slim.
Yep.
Great. I'm glad that you applied there because you wanted to.
Right.
So yeah, to me, school list is not that big of a deal. Outside of really, again, doing the homework and finding schools that might be a wonderful fit for you, even though you don't think you have a chance, right? We, as a team, are constantly communicating on Slack, talking about, hey, this student got into this school that they didn't think they had a shot at, but they applied because they really wanted to go there.
Mm-hmm. That's right. There is a sort of interesting tidbit about the Texas schools that I relate with regard to this topic of school choice, and that is that in Texas, there are a variety of medical schools, 13 state-supported medical schools, a few private medical schools, and that accept largely the state schools accept very few. A limited number of non-residents and more residents, obviously a lot more residents. And so the point here that I'm trying to make is it is advisable that a student that is a Texas resident applies to all the Texas schools. It takes one little checkbox on the application. There's no extra fee involved, and you apply to all of them through just a very easy process. And that we frequently get the idea from applicants who have not gotten in that they only chose a subset of those schools to apply to. And then the point being, and I remember very, very clearly when I was at UT Southwestern, a student that had not gotten in one year came to me to get some input on how he could improve in a subsequent year. And I noticed on the application that there were 3 medical schools in the state that he had not applied to. And when I questioned him about it, the comment was, well, I didn't want to live in that city for 4 years.
Yeah.
And so then the message I told him to the medical schools was, so you'd rather not be a doctor than go live in that city for 4 years. And he said, oh, no, that's not what I was thinking at all. And I was like, that's what the assumption is. What else are they supposed to assume?
Yeah.
And so, I do think that it's important in terms of school choice when it comes to the idea of where are you willing to go. Now, the other issue related to school choice is if you apply somewhere, you better be willing to go there.
Yeah.
Now we get that sometimes.
Whole nother topic.
Yeah, right. Exactly. A whole nother topic. But this happens, right? In terms of students evaluating kind of where they're looking at, and they shoot a big array of choices, and they get a response that they didn't expect, and then they feel pigeonholed into going into that program. Yeah.
Yeah. Or what's happening, students going to a DO program and then reapplying MD while they're at the DO program.
Oh, wow. Yeah, not a good move.
No, I want the AAMC and AMCAS schools to just come out with a statement that says, if you are at a DO program, do not apply.
Yeah. We won't even look at it. Yeah.
We won't look at you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Well, I want to tell you, Ryan, that I'm so thankful for your visit with us tonight. I think that you are a reason why a medical school admissions process is a little bit better than it was yesterday. It is today than it was yesterday. And,
0.0001%.
no, and I honestly say that because you are a representation of what it's like to go through this process and what it's like to be honest about it. And that's what I appreciate you the most is your integrity and the honesty that you approach this with. There's no airs about the process. You're willing to hurt anyone's feelings, depending on what their position is. I'm thinking mainly about medical school personnel and double AMC type stuff. But and I appreciate that, and I for one, and I really want to express that to you in terms of how much I think it means to the students that they can trust your judgment, and I think that's a huge thing. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I am going to transition us now to you're completely invited, Ryan, to hang around for the Q&A, and I would hope that if you did choose to hang around, you feel free to contribute. But we did ask ahead of time for questions related to whatever in the admissions process, and I want to address some of your questions that you've submitted. And this will be a somewhat typical part of what we'll do on the show. We'll answer questions, and hopefully it will be meaningful and helpful to those of you who are gathered tonight. So, but I did want to thank you, Ryan, for your visit with us. And,
yeah, I appreciate it. I can stay for a couple minutes if that's okay.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
just want to one clarifying point, because there are questions coming in from YouTube, is we'll have a separate form for people to fill out, because this specific show is meant to be a little bit more taboo topics. We have a form where students can submit anonymously their questions that we can pull out, so that you don't have to worry about your YouTube username and stuff being a part of those questions. So if you missed it this time, stay tuned. We'll keep putting it out there.
Absolutely. So we have some questions that really wanted to address, and I hope that you will feel free in the future. Those of you who are listening and watching, that you would feel free in the future to post any kind of question that you are interested in related to what we're talking about or otherwise, including and not excluding anything about adult beverages. Just saying. So let's see. We have several questions here. She says this is a student who asked the question: is it taboo to have a parent who is a doctor? How will the applicant be treated? And this is a very common occurrence, Ryan, is the doctor as parent sort of dilemma. Now, the AMCAS, as well as ACOMAS, as well as TMDSAS, the Texas Application Service, does request information about your parents and their professions. And so they will know, if you are honest, that your parent is a physician. How do you think, Ryan, that in general, how do you think that medical schools react to
that? So I'm of the belief that it is what it is, right? You play the cards that you've been dealt. The way that I generally talk about this, and a lot of what I say comes from deans and directors of admissions that I've had on the podcast and stuff, is when I see mom as a doctor, dad as a doctor, both are doctors, whatever, it just kind of gets my spidey sense going a little bit, going, okay, I want to make sure that you as a student have explored this for you, and not just because mom and dad are a doctor or mom's a doctor or whatever. I think that's it, right? I think that's really the level that that people are looking at this as. I don't think the reviewers and admissions committees are looking at this going, "Oh, your dad's a doctor, mom's a doctor, and so therefore you're privileged, and
Mhm,
I'm gonna knock some points off of your rubric here."
mhm,
I
mhm,
just, it is what it is, right? I don't think you're gonna be punished because mom's a doctor. I think it just means that you really need to make sure why you want to be a physician. But
mhm.
guess what? Shocker. Everyone has to really know why they want to be a physician, no matter what.
That's right. Now, do you think
I don't
what
know. Do you think that's different?
No, no, I agree with that completely. I think
Yeah.
that the most important thing is you being able to tell your story, and that it's a story independent of your parents, and
100%.
that it represents something about who you are and what your goals are and why you want to do this. That's to me, that's the essence of it, as you said, any application is
Yep.
that's really the essence of the whole thing that you want to present to the admissions committee is authentically, why am I doing this, and I'm doing it for the right reasons in terms of your thoughts. So yeah, absolutely, I agree with that. Now, I guess the question is, um, are there ways in which applicants sometimes represent their parents as physicians that is inappropriate? So I'm thinking, for example, um, mom is a physician, and so I'm going to shadow mom and expect that that's going to be,
Yeah.
okay and sufficient.
Yeah. I literally saw an application the other day I was reviewing. A student didn't get in, and I was looking, and I'm like, "This is your mom, isn't it?" And they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "You shouldn't have included her in your shadowing hours." Uh, uh, yeah, here's where I think it comes across the most typically is students who need to make it known, typically in their personal statement. I originally didn't want to be a physician because my mom was a physician and I just didn't want to follow in her footsteps, right? It's the whole I'm a rebel
Mhm.
and
Right.
I'm not doing this. They're trying to be over the top. I'm not doing this because my mom's a doctor. And I'm just like, it's a wasted story. Like,
Yeah.
great, move on. You and everyone else. Number one, that's just human nature, right? Animal nature
Right.
is you want to get away from your parents as fast as possible.
Exactly. Exactly.
Um, so to me, that doesn't mean anything. So I think that's where students make a mistake typically when a parent is a physician,
Yeah.
outside of what you mentioned, right? Of shadowing that person,
Right.
putting it on there.
Right.
Don't ever, ever, ever get a letter of recommendation from
No.
your parents.
Yeah, even if her name or his name is a different name than your name. I've had
Yeah,
that before, right? Where
yeah,
mom kept her maiden name,
yep,
and child is shadowing, wants a letter from mom, and mom's name isn't the same. So what's the problem?
yep.
Yeah. So that gets into some ethical questions in my book, but anyway,
Yeah.
that's just me, I suppose. So we have another question. I understand that this will vary widely across all admissions committees, but in general, and this is a great question, how receptive are admissions committees to give a seat to a 45 to 50-year-old applicant?
Yeah. I think, this definitely should be one of your
Yeah,
shows where
yeah,
you bring on, and
yeah.
I can think of a couple of people who might be a good guest. I struggle with this, in a lot of different ways. I obviously believe in free will. I think people are free to do what they want. I don't think about older applicants solely from a kind of fiscal responsibility standpoint, that there are some people out there in the physician finance community that poo-poo non-trads from going to medical school because they look at it strictly from a numbers perspective, saying the opportunity cost is too large. It's going to take way too long for you to start earning money and to retire, whatever. My point of view is, I don't want to live with regret for the rest of my life. And you're a chaplain, right? You could bring those kind of end of life stories to the table too, where people on their deathbed are never saying, "Well, I'm really glad I didn't go to medical school because that's what I really wanted to do my whole life. I'm really glad I don't have that debt." So I think anyone should have the opportunity to go to medical school.
Yeah.
And right, medical school seats in this country are a limited resource. And is it the best use of resources for our community, for our country?
That's right.
To train someone who potentially is going to work less than someone else. But I immediately shut that thought down too, because look at me, right? Pot calling kettle black. I worked full time in the Air Force, not even out in the real world. I was a flight surgeon for 5 years before I stopped practicing. Now, I had some health stuff, which you never know, right? You never know when your health diminishes to a point where you can't practice. There's so many reasons for someone to not practice anymore, or to not practice full time anymore. That I just think, right, it's the American way. Shut up and mind your own business. Like, if I want to go to medical school at 45, let me go to medical school at 45. And I will always remember one of my first non-trad, really strong non-trad guests on the pre-med years. She was 53 or 56, somewhere around there. I believe she was a third-year medical student at the point that I interviewed her. She was a nurse her whole career. And the reason she didn't go to medical school was because her dad said women do not become physicians. And she lived that until he died. And she said, "All right, medical school, here I come."
Right.
Medical school. And I was just like, you know what? Awesome.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting. I remember one year, a Texas medical, I'll just say it was UT Southwestern, when I was there. And one of the processes that we had in place at the time was, if you had certain numbers, you got an automatic interview. If you had certain numbers as a non-resident or as a resident, depending on the year, and you would get an automatic interview if you had a certain subset of numbers. And so we tried pretty carefully to filter that process to say it wasn't just an automatic kind of thing that would happen, that somebody actually had to push buttons and stuff to make that occur. And the point being that one year, I remember very clearly getting a phone call from an applicant, and who had a question about his interview day. And I thought to myself, wow, this applicant sounds really old. And to my horror, when I looked at his academic record, he was 69 years old.
Wow.
60.
But he met the minimums.
He met the minimum.
So he got that automatic interview.
He got the automatic interview. And the damnedest thing about it was, he was a great applicant. He had done everything right.
Yep.
In terms of everything that needed to be done, he did it. He went to an advisor. He said, "What do I have to do to go to medical school?" He did all the stuff. and for all the right reasons, apparently.
Yeah.
This guy was very much of a Renaissance kind of dude, right? And to the brilliant suggestion, and what ended up happening with the admissions committee was he was evaluated, and we had to get the legal eagles involved because here was a very clear issue of age discrimination if there was anyone going to happen.
Yeah.
And so we had to get them involved, the general counsel for the school, et cetera. And the end result was that the decision was made that based on existing federal case law, we could not deny him admission based on his age.
Of course.
And so what happened was, I thought a brilliant move. The dean of the medical school at the time, who eventually became the dean at Yale Medical School, he decided that particular year we would accept one additional student, so that no student could say, I was denied admission because he got admission. And
I just want to stop. Like, how screwed up are we as a society that we have to open up another seat so that little Timmy doesn't get his feelings hurt because Big John, 69-year-old John, got a seat, and little Timmy's like, but he's old and I'm young and I should have that seat. And my mommy's a powerful lawyer and she's gonna sue you.
Exactly. There you go. That's it right there. That's it. Anyway, it was a very interesting year. Now, to tell the end of the story is this particular student did not graduate, did not make it through medical school.
Oh no.
And the point was,
he kept falling asleep in class because he was old.
No, it was clinical. He could not exist within the clinical schedule that he had to exist under. The number of hours that students in clinical, in clerkship years, the number of hours that you're expected to perform at a high level.
That goes to my earlier point, is this process is really hard. It's rigorous.
Absolutely.
And should it be easier? I don't know. Right? We can talk about work hours and residents working 80 or 100 hours a week. Maybe they don't need to work that long. Maybe it's 60 to 80 versus 80 to 100. I think there is a lot to cramming in as much knowledge as possible, as fast as possible, and seeing as many different things as possible. But I think that's a perfect example of, like, how do we make sure, right? Maybe part of the AMCAS application is going out and doing a fitness test. You got to make sure that you're able to do that.
And the irony is that he, for example, could have gone into, and I'm not saying anything about PA programs, about denigrating at all what they do or how long it takes them to do it, but he could have gone to PA school.
Much less rigorous.
Been out in 36 months. And he could have been
practicing.
No residency. And it was a tragedy, I think, from that perspective, that he could have been doing something that would have been very satisfying to him, I think. But because of how society pushed him into that mold and the expectations of what that meant about a clinical career. Anyway, it was a fascinating story, and it was interesting to be a part of that particular story. Anyway, so another question that came through that I thought was interesting was this. Throughout my undergrad years, I was very unsure if medicine was right for me up until my junior year. Due to this, I don't have much that shows I'm truly interested in medicine. Shadowing, adequate volunteer hours, for example. Will this result in being perceived negatively by an admissions committee? If so, what can I do? And Ryan, this is a very, in my view, a very common question, and that is, I'm interested in getting on with this, and if what you're suggesting suggests a delay in gratification, I'm going to be opposed to that. Does that make sense to you? That question? Yeah, I mean, you know what I'm saying in terms of, we have a lot of young students who think a year is a giant piece of their lives.
Well, it is. It percentage wise, right? A year to
Correct.
them is bigger than a year for us.
Correct.
Yeah.
But with no forethought into, there are many years to come. Like,
yeah, I think it's hard, right? I think it's really hard for students. It's kind of the whole forest through the trees kind of thinking of understanding that the best possible path is most likely a path that extends another year or two. And I had this conversation today. I tried to make it very clear. What I am telling you is not that you can't get into medical school. I just don't think that you're ready to apply this year. Because I don't want students to take away, Dr. Ray said I'm not going to get into medical school.
Right. That's right.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
That's right.
And it's hard, right? Because I try not to be very dogmatic about it, very black and white. I don't have a crystal ball. We don't know who's going to get into medical school. For students that do get into medical school, sometimes we don't know why they get into medical school. It's like, oh, you got in? Okay, great. That's wonderful. All that we can do as advisors, and this is my biggest complaint against a lot of advisors out there, and a lot of the advising community doesn't like me because I often talk badly about advisors. And so I try to get very nuanced and specific in my communication about that. Is what I don't like are advisors who do come at it from a black or white. You're not going to get into medical school. Start thinking about other career paths. You and I and our small team of amazing experts, we try to come at it from the standpoint of, here is what we see works year in and year out. And you are outside of that by a wide margin. Does that mean you're not going to get in? No, I can't say that for sure. Right. But I can tell you, I talked to 10 students just like you last week who didn't get in. So,
that's right. Yeah, that's very good perspective. So one of the things that I will be doing every week during the show is that I want to ask you a question, Ryan. Before you go, I want to ask you a question, and this is a question I'll ask every guest every week that we have a guest. And what I simply want to know is, from your perspective right now, in your life, what makes you the most happy?
It's a bad day to ask me that question. Oh man, I'm not having a good day. What makes me the most happy? I'm going to give a cliche answer, and I have to give credit to someone who I've met several times, I've spent some time with, but is all over the internet, Gary Vaynerchuk. And his perspective is, if you wake up and you have your health as best as you can have your health, and those who you love the most are alive and healthy, what the heck are you complaining about?
Mm,
And so, I mean, to me, that's my answer for today is,
mhm.
and you know, my family, we have our struggles with
Yeah.
health and stuff, and but everyone's alive. We're doing well.
Mhm.
And so yeah, what do I have to complain about?
Yeah. That's an awesome perspective.
Yeah.
That's awesome perspective. I love that.
I did tell a friend today. I texted a friend while I was in bed in the middle of the day because I just wasn't feeling it today. And I said, I'm tired of adulting.
I think that frequently. This is not something I like either. That's
Yeah.
funny. That is funny. Well, thank you, Dr. Ryan Gray, for being here with us tonight. It's been a privilege and honor that you joined us on this inaugural day of Premed Happy Hour. I thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I would like to say to all of you that are gathered here this evening, we'll do this every week on Thursday during Happy Hour, 7 Central Time, 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific. And I
What's
don't
that
know.
in Alaska time?
I
I don't
know,
know.
right? I saw. Apropos, I saw a T-shirt the other day that said, "In dog beers, I'm only 3 in," which I thought was
Uh,
humorous.
yeah.
um,
Well,
so,
congrats to you,
well,
Dr. Wright,
thank you.
for
Thank you.
coming up with this idea and launching this show and having these conversations about these taboo topics.
Yeah. And next week, I wanna say that we're gonna have another special guest, and this special guest has gone through the application admissions process this year.
Mm.
Will be starting medical school this summer, and in her process, she applied both DO and MD, and is in the throes of this decision making activity regarding where she chooses to go to medical school, and she's going to talk to us next week about specifically about this issue about DO school versus MD school and some of the myths related to that decision making process and why you might choose one over the other and why you might be interested in one versus the other or both and just how that all has all worked for her. So we're going to be talking about that next week. So I hope that you'll come and join us for an adult beverage and to enjoy an hour of stress-free and informational greeting from the medical school headquarters people. So thank you very much. I appreciate your being here, and have a good rest of your evening.
Bye bye.
Bye, everybody.